I love that attitude.
Yes.
All right, good morning and welcome. It is Thursday, August 6th, and we are here to work on our budget and hear from our final presenters today. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Our first budget presentation today will be from our juvenile court. Judge McGuire, please welcome.
And so,
Thank you.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, that would be tab 17 in your budget notebook.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, good morning. Thank you for having me. Okay. Down, okay.
And Judge McGuire, if you'll bring the microphone
Yes.
right up. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Good morning.
Judge McGuire, while they get that working for you, if you'll open by just telling us a little bit about your court and the important work that you do there.
The juvenile court handles delinquency and dependency cases, and so we deal with children, and that is defined as children that are, in the case of delinquency matters, under the age of 17, and in the case of dependency matters, under 18. We also handle juvenile traffic matters as well. And so our mission remains unchanged, which is to administer justice with a commitment to the well-being and best interests of children while protecting the community. In terms of our successes, we have recently implemented e-filing using our case management system. So that is new for us, and we are getting that off to a good start. We have hired 2 new case managers just within the past couple of weeks, and we have also continued a reduction in the number of children in foster care. That continues to be a trend that I'm seeing. And then also, in terms of successes, all 3 of our juvenile accountability court programs have recently been fully certified by the state, which is the Council of Accountability Court Judges, CACJ, that does that certification. And so our 3 accountability court programs are our family treatment court dealing with dependency matters, and then our 2 juvenile treatment court programs that are juvenile drug court and also juvenile resource court. And so we group those 2 together under the umbrella of juvenile treatment courts. In terms of challenges, it continues to always be program sustainability, in particular as to these accountability court programs, since they are largely, a large part of that is grant funding. And then also a continuing challenge is to maintain quality legal representation for youth and families, both in our dependency cases and also in our delinquency cases.
How are you addressing that?
Well, in the case of delinquencies, we have the Public Defender's Office, and they have a dedicated assigned assistant PD that handles juvenile matters. But then we also frequently will have cases where we'll have multiple co-perpetrators in which it'll be necessary to appoint attorneys. All children in juvenile court have an attorney, whether it's a delinquency case, a dependency case. And so we have conflict attorneys that we'll contact, but we have to pay for those out of the court. Right. And then in terms of the dependency cases, we have a very good slate of attorneys that contract with the court, and so they rotate in the attorney roles in dependency cases, which will include the child's attorney and guardian ad litem, the parent's attorney, which may be 1 or 2 attorneys, depending on the situation.
And sometimes it can be multiple attorneys if there's multiple siblings, correct? Is that still the case?
Well, in dependency cases, we pretty much always will have multiple attorneys. On the delinquency side, it's a little more straightforward because those are more like criminal cases where you'll see the one attorney representing the one child. In dependency cases, the child has an attorney, which is frequently that will also be the guardian ad litem, and then also the parent, if they hire their own or if they apply and qualify for court-appointed counsel, then they would have an attorney. Sometimes there may be an attorney representing separate parents. So there are typically those are multifaceted cases where we'll see typically multiple different attorneys, as opposed to just one. In terms of our FY27 goals and initiatives, nothing on this slide has really changed from last year, and I was asked not to just read the slides verbatim, so I'll move on from this one. Going on to our operating budget summary, the main change that we're presenting here is the $5,000 operating expense, and that request is related to those accountability court programs, and so that will be for the family treatment court, juvenile drug court, and resource court, program-related expenses and supplies. And so we have put in a $5,000 request for that item, and in terms of the justification, that would be allotted for the purchase of office and program supplies, participant materials, educational resources, and miscellaneous program-related purchases necessary to support the daily operations and effective implementation of the juvenile accountability court programs. And so I realized over this past several months getting ready for this that the juvenile court does not have a line item for accountability courts. We have, within our court, we have the single most accountability court programs in our department, since we have 3 with the FTC and the 2 juvenile treatment court programs, but we don't actually have a separate line item for that, for those types of expenses related to those programs.
That's an interesting point. I appreciate you bringing that to our attention.
In terms of our organizational charts, this was our FY26 chart. At the time, we had a couple of vacancies for FY27. This one, the chart itself remains unchanged. We have the main thing here will be the request for the juvenile treatment court coordinator, which is listed as the drug and resource court program coordinator, to become a county-funded position. So that's a new request that we have this year. That position is currently grant-funded through state grant funds.
And the funding will end this year?
It's not. We're not expecting it to end. We've been allocated our award for this fiscal year. However, this all goes toward, in large part, sustainability that I talked a little bit about earlier. And let me just move on to so that's the job title. So I do want to give credit to April Robinson, who is our programs administrator, who helped me with a lot of this data that is in this justification. So as I said, this goes to sustainability insofar as the program is currently funded by state grant funds. Having this position be county funded would enable us to use the grant funding for the crucial substance and mental health treatment that the JTC's, Juvenile Treatment Court programs, provide. According to the National Institute on Drug Abuse, NIDA, over 40% of youth reported having used illegal drugs by the time they graduate high school, and nearly 60% having tried alcohol. So the Rockdale County Juvenile Drug Court in its present form was implemented way back in March of 2012. So it's certainly our longest standing in juvenile court of these programs. The Juvenile Resource Court, which is also the mental health treatment court, was implemented under Judge Wood in January of 2019. Since the implementation of these programs, over 200 youth have been served, and outcomes do show an overall reduction in recidivism rates. One of the points that I'd like to make has to do with cost effectiveness. And so the number that we've gotten from the Department of Juvenile Justice is that the average cost per day of a detained youth at the Rockdale RYDC is just over $402 per day. The overall Juvenile Accountability Court program cost per participant is $2,442 over the life of their involvement in the program, which equals about 6 days in detention. So we might easily have the child who is in detention for well over 6 days, and that would, the entire cost of the Accountability Court program for that youth would equal to less than a week in detention. So we want to look at outcome costs that would include participants' subsequent interactions with courts and related agencies. Those would be costs that the youth might encounter if they did not have these services in accountability courts. And cost-benefit analysis of such programs demonstrates a range of $2 to $10 in savings generated for every dollar invested in juvenile accountability court programs. In terms of crime reduction, this is certainly something that we all want to see. And in terms of general crime data, there's a study conducted by Emory University that found that a 10% increase in treatment reduces robbery and theft offenses by about 3% and aggravated assaults by 9%. And for every dollar spent on treatment, up to $3 are saved in crime reduction. There is certainly a high likelihood for youthful offenders to become adult offenders without early intervention and treatment. And according to DJJ statistics, 76% of youth detained reported a history of substance abuse ranging from marijuana and alcohol to prescription drugs. According to DJJ, 70% of youth reported the use of drugs or alcohol on the day of their offense. So that number actually is quite high. In terms of the sustainability, this is the main point that I would like to make. So since the Rockdale County Juvenile Treatment Court programs are currently relying on funding that comes to us through the Georgia Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, CJCC, we use that funding to provide services to the youth participating in the JTC programs, but also, so the services to the youth, but also the salary of program staff. And the two case managers that we've recently hired are grant funded. This position, the Juvenile Drug and Resource Court Program Coordinator, is also currently grant funded. And so those are competitive grants, and funding is certainly dependent on the availability of funds and the allocation of funds by the state legislature. The court does apply for state and federal grant funding at every opportunity and uses awards of more than $379,000 annually to provide treatment services to youth and families. And so I believe that by including the salary and benefits for this position, this coordinator position, in the county budget, the court would have sufficient grant funds to sustain the programs long-term, which would result in better outcomes for youth with substance and mental health use disorders, while demonstrating cost savings to the taxpayers of Rockdale County and reducing crime.
Very good.
So thank you very much.
Okay.
So are both you and April receiving the emails from the Council for State Governments about their webinars and that information? I know I talked to April on
Yes,
Monday.
I believe so. I believe she does.
And she had said that you were, responded to them with the interest in the Stepping Up for Youth, but that
Yes.
she hadn't heard back from them.
She did hear back within the past day or two
Okay.
with some additional dates.
Okay,
and so
great.
we do plan to follow up with them, regarding the Stepping Up initiative for youth.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, great.
Judge, can you talk about I'm not sure if your office tracks school attendance for students that have come before your court, but certainly with this new school year starting, I think we all know it's a mandate under the state
Right.
law that children attend school and are on time. And so I continue to encourage parents to make that a top priority in their daily routine, because there is some liability for the parents as well. But in the cases that you have worked with, what do you see as far as school attendance from some of the people that have come through your court? Is it a problem?
We do see a problem in that area, and I will say that the cases that come to court are already, there are already issues going on that cause them to become court involved in the first place. So
Right.
we're not seeing, necessarily a representative sample county-wide.
Correct.
But we do see attendance issues. It's pretty much always part of any delinquency order that I make that the child attend school on time every day for each class, unless
Excellent.
they have a doctor's excuse. I'm also aware that the parents are able to track it through the school system's app or
That's correct.
whatever system.
So
that
if somebody were to skip school, the parent would get that notification.
they have that ability.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. In terms of, I order it, and then our cases are supervised by DJJ,
Great.
who's our probation officers, and they follow up and they do track that.
Excellent. Well, I do think that's so critical because as a community that wants to focus on families and help families thrive, there's so many facets that come together with our school system. So if children are going to school, if they're on time, they'll be ready for the day. Additionally, there's counselors in every school, and I know that the school system has a comprehensive program for students and families to receive assistance. So thank you for your good work that you do. That's vitally important to Rockdale County.
Thank you. And we do work closely with the school system. Part of their school attendance and climate protocol that Judge Bills chairs. We're certainly part of that, and stand ready to work with them.
So I do have a question too, not about the budget, but about the program.
Okay.
So you mentioned that there's a relationship between youth offenders who become adult offenders. Is there any kind of relationship between youth offenders who have parents who are adult offenders?
I don't have any stats on that at my fingertips, but I would think that there is. I would certainly see a relationship in that regard.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay. Have a great day, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
All right.
All right, thank you.
All right, so next we have Magistrate Court. We have Judge Aten here this morning. That will be section 15 in your budget notebook. Come on up to the podium, please. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Glad to have you today.
Good morning. How are you, Board of Commissioners?
We are well.
Very good. And down forward. Okay, here we are. So the mission is pretty much dictated by our Constitution, our vast body of case law developed by the federal Supreme Court, Georgia Supreme Court, and other appellate courts, and the rules of Uniform Magistrate Court rules that have been adopted and approved by our Supreme Court. of Georgia.
Will you introduce yourself?
Yes.
For the viewers at
I'm
home.
sorry. I'm sorry. I was told to cut to the chase. So,
Well, you're doing a great job, but
and you know
I'm
what?
sure they want to know who you
I
are.
know that we have so many new residents and stakeholders because every time I see a new development, whether it's rental properties or homes for sale coming up, I say, oh Lord, landlord-tenant law is going, caseload is going to go up.
Yes.
So I know that we have a lot of new people, and I want to say welcome to you. And if I've not had the pleasure of marrying you and your spouse, or seeing you at a community event, or serving you in the confines of the magistrate courtroom, then I want to say that I am your Chief Magistrate Judge, Phinia Tien, and I have proudly served this community in that capacity since January 1st, 2013. And joining me today is the Magistrate Court Clerk of Court, Ms. Patricia Carricker. As you may recall, Board of Commissioners, she was previously honored at a Metro event as Administrative Professional of the Year last year. And so I'm glad that she's here for me for pretty much moral support. She's already done the logistical steps necessary to get me before you today. So our mission is to serve as a judicial forum where justice starts. As many people belovedly call the magistrate court the people's court, it's because pretty much most people, if they ever have to walk into a courtroom other than to pay a traffic ticket or fight one, they're going to come in the magistrate court. I explain to them often that it's not like Judge Judy, even though she does get some of her cases from small claims courts here in Rockdale and across the country. We operate in a much different fashion, but we do handle a diverse array of civil disputes, and our mission is, and criminal, is to protect the rights and liberties of all. So whether you're a victim or a defendant in a criminal case, or a plaintiff or a respondent or defendant in a civil case, the magistrate court, like all of our courts, is charged with protecting all of your rights. We uphold and interpret the law, so we're not just making up decisions on the fly. Many people pray for the mercy of the court, but we are a court of law, which means if the law gives us discretion or leeway to make a decision, we do. If it does not, then we apply the law to the facts, and that's going to render the decision or the outcome of the case. So we do that fairly and impartially, and we promote public trust and confidence in the judiciary through meaningful and sustained community engagement. I'll talk about some of the new initiatives that we introduced this past year. To that effect, equal access to justice. I'll talk about where the vision is for the upcoming year to expand access to justice. And as always, best practice in judicial services. So Patricia and I both attend a number of events to speak with colleagues, to learn, to exchange ideas about how do we keep justice moving forward. And that pretty much, Board of Commissioners, is how we have, with very limited resources, from courtroom space to positions, have continued to be on the cutting edge. And a motto, I'll actually have a chief judge from another magistrate court visiting this month to learn from our jurisdiction. So I'm happy to be a leader in that capacity. Our goals for 2027 include expanding access to justice, as I just mentioned, through a magistrate court mediation program. That has been in the works for some time. I started last year taking the mediation training because for me, to best implement something, I like to know it like the back of my hand. So I actually went through the training to know what our litigants and their lawyers would experience in a mediation setting. And so this has been a long time coming. Obviously, we have not had the space. If you remember our little house next to the tax commissioner's office, the little room after you pass screening was not sufficient to properly hold a mediation session. And then for the last 6 years, we've been in a temporary building that again has a little space next to the screeners, but there's no way for security and otherwise that space is sufficient to hold mediation. So we're finally going to have the capacity, the physical capacity, matching the vision that I've had for almost a decade to have a mediation program. And it's needed more now, more than ever, because as I'll share with you, in the last year alone, our civil cases blew up almost 1,000 cases. We went from roughly about 7,000 to 7,700. And that was before the General Assembly passed a law that would expand magistrate court civil jurisdiction from $15,000 cap for dispossessory eviction cases to $25,000. So that's what's coming January 1st.
Wow.
And for us to be able to handle that capacity, we're going to need the resources. Now, what are the resources we already have that will make this possible? Well, one, if you look at the layout for the new courthouse, like I said, this has been a long time coming. All of the blue area is magistrate court, will be at the front, right past the front entrance of the new courthouse we're moving into at the end of October. And then the green is juvenile court. Well, if you'll notice at the front of magistrate court, we have an area that I designed for mediation. It includes a joint session room, which is where many mediations start, where the mediator meets with all parties and their attorneys, kind of gives a roadmap, finds out what are the issues in dispute, and then she or her will pull one party to the side in another confidential area, so we have a caucus room. And we'll go back and forth until the parties reach either a partial or a full settlement. So this space was designed by myself, along with Madam Clerk Patricia Carricker, to have the mediation space. And that will allow us to be a lot more efficient and resolve cases on a quicker timeline, which is very important because magistrate court by law already has shorter windows of adjudication than the other state and superior courts. So we have to have a fast turnaround. And that's beneficial for so many reasons, but the mediation, I can schedule the mediation right after the answer has been filed. Answer is pretty much triggers the court's jurisdiction because both parties have now said, I want to litigate this. Plaintiff has filed a complaint, this is my issue. The defendant has filed a counterclaim and or an answer that says either I object, I deny the claims of the plaintiff, or I have my own claims against this plaintiff. And so once that happens, we can start sending cases like dispossessory eviction cases, small claims cases, personal injury cases, where there may be medical bills and bill collectors already trying to pursue an injured party in a car wreck. We can send those cases to mediation very early. And so that would be wonderful for our litigants. And it would also save time for us to focus on the cases that just have reached the impasse, that cannot resolve themselves. So the wonderful thing is there are many magistrate courts around the state that started mediation programs earlier, and I'm sure it's because they had the capacity, the vision, and the cooperation of their board of commissioners. So with that being said, the state has a Georgia Commission on Alternative Dispute Resolution, which mediation, arbitration will both come up under that umbrella. Once we get approved, and our Chief Superior Court Judge, Judge Nancy Beals, is in support of this, and you'll hear from her later on this afternoon about her vision for the mediation program for the circuit, we will be able to have all funds collected. There'll be a $10 surcharge on the on all civil cases. So for magistrate court, that's $70,000. That's just an average. Over the last 3 years, we've been pushing, like I said, well over 7,000. But just to be on the conservative side, that is what I would use to fund the part-time position that I've asked for, the magistrate court mediation coordinator. So most mediation programs in the state have a director. They kind of make sure we're in compliance. They're a compliance officer for this program because we have to stay in good standing with the state to continue to collect those funds that would support our mediation program. They also help facilitate mediations for some of the other courts that have a different track or timeline for adjudication. But with magistrate court, because we're so high volume and fast paced, generally these mediation programs, circuit programs, have a dedicated program coordinator for the magistrate courts. Because again, we're scheduling very quickly. We're signing the final judgments based on those settlements pretty much the same day of mediation or shortly thereafter. So the director really does not handle those kind of things for magistrate court. So the funding for this position would be fully funded in 2027 by our program being recognized by the state. So that would be access to justice. The other thing that I started this year was a Court Connectors Academy. It's a citizens academy for those who are curious or interested in supporting our local court system, our justice system. So we had about a dozen cohorts this year, and these are adults 18 or over who are interested in serving the courts and being a volunteer for the year and being ambassadors for justice to go out in the community and share the good news about what all our courts are doing. I also continue to foster youth engagement for students that are curious or aspiring lawyers, judges, law enforcement officers. We are holding our 9th annual law camp in February. To save the date is February 16th, 2027. It's very popular. Usually all our slots fill up within about a week of registration being available. Equity, we go again to our mediation program. It's a level playing field, so whether you come with an attorney or not, that mediator is going to make sure everyone feels important, their rights being, not their rights, their matter being looked at from the lens of their point of view. And so that would really go a long way with pursuing the court's goals towards equity and innovation. Would be the mediation program that's been in the making. We have the space. I now have the knowledge. And so we are almost ready to go there with our coordinator. And the second magistrate courtroom, which is also part of the new building. This is something that's been a part of our need assessment for over a decade as we look to expanding the judicial complex. So I'm pleased that we have a second courtroom that will have the capacity, I understand from General Services, of about the courtroom that Judge Wood is currently in. So that's going to mean a lot of cases that we'll be able to resolve too, particularly if we're running simultaneous courtrooms. Currently, for the last 6 years, we've been only able to operate civil sessions 3 days a week because we've been sharing a single courtroom in the Clay Building with probate. 7,000 cases squeezed through that facility is a lot that we've accomplished, Ms. Carricker, together. But now we'll have a fully functioning second courtroom, but more than the space to seat the litigants and the judge to take the bench, we need the critical support of a calendar clerk. That is usually the duties of the deputy clerk too. So if I'm in one courtroom, Judge Stacy or one of my other magistrate judges, associate judges are in the other, they cannot operate unless we have two things: the proper security, which would include the civilian bailiff. And the civilian bailiff for magistrate court is more than a second eye to assist the deputy sheriff. They also help with the efficient movement of paperwork. Because in magistrate court, we give out most judgments, 99% of our judgments, on the day of ruling, immediately following trial. People like that, okay? They like to know what happened. But more importantly, for cases like our dispossessory cases, our eviction cases, where the appeal time is literally 7 days from judgment, if we put those judgments in the mail, your appeal time will run just going through the U.S. Post Office system. So that's why it's important to have that calendar clerk there in that second courtroom. That calendar clerk, that deputy Clerk 2 also allows the court to move forward with trying another case while the clerk is preparing the judgment of the case just tried. So imagine this, judge is sitting there by herself, having to type up the judgments. Everyone in the courtroom just has to wait and be patient when they already, we've talked about this, are missing work, school, had planned for a half a day of court, not a full day. We would not get the efficiency and productivity that each and every one of you and the court expect from not having that second courtroom operating efficiently. And then, far as equity too, we are asking for reclassification of Ms. Carricker's position from clerk of court to clerk of court / manager. In comparison, the clerk of courts for State and Superior Court has 4 managers in that identify from the organizational chart in addition to the clerk of court. Most of that's focused on criminal. I can tell you Ms. Carricker is doing the job of two managers and the clerk of court positions, been doing it for almost a decade. It's just a matter of equity to make sure she gets reclassification so that her position speaks really to her value, her added value to our justice system and our community. And I believe that comes at about $7,000, that reclassification. So that is what we're asking from the Board of Commissioners as far as HR changes. The mediator position, which would be fully funded with the $10 ADR fee that we would be able to collect. The deputy clerk too, which is essential, is that last building block to ensure that the need assessment we did 10 years ago for a second courtroom actually is functional. And I should mention too, the mediator coordinator is part-time. So we're talking about $30,000 and we're collecting $70,000. So that leaves room to pay for the calendar mediators that normally assist for the mediation. They get paid a per diem rate of about $100 to $150 a day. So that's more than enough money.
For the mediator?
For magistrate. Now, because State and Superior have more complex civil cases, their mediators usually get paid by the hour, that same rate of about $100, $150 or more by the hour. Okay, but with magistrate court, traditionally across the state, they're per day. Okay, so we've got enough money to fund a really robust and wonderful magistrate court mediation program. Let's go.
Can you walk us through the expediency with which you think cases can be heard in mediation and completed?
I sure will.
And maybe it's old school that I think this, but I thought when you filed in magistrate, that then a date is assigned to come to court.
No.
So tell me how that works
Okay,
now.
that is myth number one. Okay, because the court does not get jurisdiction to hear a case, decide a case, whether it's a default situation or a full trial on the merits, until legal jurisdiction comes over everybody that's involved in the suit. So that happens pretty quickly with the plaintiff because they lend themselves to the court. They come in and say, I have a dispute, I need a legal dispute, I should say, and I need help, Chief Judge 10. That's just part one. The law, the cornerstone of our legal system is due process. What does that mean? Basically, opportunity to be heard, to come into that case. So some defendants will actually waive service or acknowledge service, and they will step into the arena, the courtroom, voluntarily. Okay, before they've been served. When service attempts have failed, they'll come in and file an answer on their own. That's probably about 1% to 2%. Very, you've seen the movies, the Hollywood movies. They get a lot wrong about the legal system, but when they say, I'll sue you, I'll see you in court, and they say, we'll see, catch me if you can. That's the position, right? You do not have to make it, the law does not say that a defendant has to make it easy to serve them. Okay, so the sheriff's office may attempt multiple times to track down that defendant at the address the plaintiff has provided. It may be a bad address, but they will try. And then a party can also ask the court to appoint a private process server. Once they meet certain legal qualifications, they can sit out at the stake the property. They can they can search a person at school, at work, wherever they can find them. That's expensive, hiring a private process server. But the law requires either way. The plaintiff's case cannot be heard until that defendant is served. So that could take months or years. It can never happen. So you never get your day in court because the court, this is all the courts, not just magistrate court, never gets jurisdiction over the defendant. So we cannot render a decision. Now, there are other service methods in those other courts. By law, they can also ask the court to publish by publication. So if a person is evading service for a period of time after due diligence to serve, that is not available in magistrate court cases. The law states very clearly what kind of service you can have for a magistrate court case. Now, the exception to personal services in dispossessory cases, because they are considered in rem, other property actions, right? There's people involved, but you're really trying to get possession of your property back, your real property. So with an in rem action like that, the law allows tack and mail on the property. So whether the tenant is still in that property, was on vacation, it doesn't matter. That once the sheriff's office knocks on the door, can't get someone to come to the door, they're allowed to tack that summons and complaint to the door, and then they also have to mail it. So that's called tack and mail. Once that's done, there is 7 days for a defendant, only in dispossessory cases, to file an answer. And there's no ability to cure the default. So the fact they were on vacation or they don't use the front door, they go in through the garage, there's no way that the court can open that default, unlike other civil cases where you can file an answer in 30 days and then you get 15 days to open a default beyond that, right? You pay the court costs, and that late answer then becomes a valid, timely answer if that's done. And so the court can move forward. So with something like that, once tack and mail is done, then we have to wait 7 days for that answer period. On the 8th day, the landlord can then come to court, say, I've done tack and mail service, the sheriff has done the return, I want possession, and the court can issue a writ of possession. Okay? Now, if that defendant files an answer, then we can schedule either mediation or a trial. So that's kind of what we have to wait for, but it's not I file a lawsuit and then I wait for a court date.
Okay, so in time, what would we guess? Best case scenario, worst case scenario for a dispossession?
Okay, so remember, there's that part that the court does not control. That's the tack and mail. So that would be an answer for the sheriff. Once the magistrate court sends you the summons and complaint to serve, the second original of that, how soon can the sheriff's office get the deputies, civil service deputies, out to all these properties around Rockdale County that are demanding a dispossessory action pursue? Tack and mail. Then that defendant, the 7 days doesn't start until that happens. So it's not 7 days from filing of the suit with the court. It's 7 days from service of the suit. So you've got that gap. The law was just passed now where if a sheriff, this is statewide, cannot serve within a certain period of time, that the landlord can then have a private process server go out and do the tack and mail. That's a new law.
Okay.
Like I say, the law is evolving.
And
So
that's good because I think
and we have landlords that are doing that now. They're
Yes.
they're big filers,
Yeah.
but the ones and twos, they're generally going through the sheriff's office, and,
Right.
and it's a very efficient process. You got to remember, we're doing probably about 4,000. I have the numbers. I know we don't have a lot of time, so I
Right.
won't find them, but we're doing about 4,000 of these a year.
Okay.
Used to be about a third of our civil, now it's almost a half, closer to a half. So we got big numbers, and you've already heard the presentation from the sheriff's office as to what's needed in terms of vacancies or additional positions. But there's a lot of interplay, and so that's why Patricia really deserves the reclassification, because every day she's interfacing with sheriff's office personnel, whether it's a jail situation with someone who's been arrested or charged with an offense. She helps new deputies get online with our criminal e-warrant system.
Okay.
When they have glitches, she has to put new charges in. When the General Assembly passes the new charges, she's on the phone with our vendor taking care of that. She's with IT dealing with things. When we need an Odyssey issue, she's on the phone with Danny, Ed, or Tyler Technologies. I mean, just one person doing 2 or 3 people, managers' jobs, in addition to her own responsibilities that she has by law and as assigned by the court. So there's a lot of moving parts, but a mediation program has worked wonders in places like Clayton County, Cobb County, even other more suburban rural counties, I think they're close to us, in reducing that gap. Because most people do file an answer in dispossession cases, even if it's just to buy time. Because remember, they get that 7 days and then the whole scheduling of the trial. If they don't file an answer, then they could get a writ on the 8th day after attack and mail, and then it's just a matter of scheduling. Then it's just a matter of the plaintiff coming back, because that's not automatic. They have to pay this, and I know y'all are like this, $25 to get the sheriff to go out and assist with. So it's not just their initial filing fees. Some of them don't know that. That's why programs like my Smart Justice videos and my Just One sheets, they explain the general process, because we can't give legal advice about, hey, you don't just sit back and you file a lawsuit. You've got to be active plaintiff. That's what the law requires you to be diligent. So, so we have plaintiffs now that are more educated, and they're not just sitting back saying, hey, it's 6 months. I can't get this tenant out. I'm waiting for the court. Well, the court has been waiting for you since 8 days after service. So we are doing a lot to make sure that people are educated, both defendants and plaintiffs, landlords and tenants, about the general process so we can have greater efficiency. But now we've done the education piece. We've been doing that for over a decade. Now we need to up the ante with the mediation program, okay? I mean, shorter trial times for those cases that actually do have trials.
Okay.
Where the cases that can settle have already gone through that process. So I think it's going to be a beautiful thing for Rockdale. We now have the physical space. We just now need 1 or 2 more bodies. And then I think we'll go back to our prior stance at these presentations of saying, magistrate court is good.
Awesome.
Thank
We
you.
would appreciate that. Thank you for your
And
time
those are
today.
just some flyers. We got to save the date for the next youth law camp, and we continue to do the weddings every month. Those have been wonderful. Judge McCray helped us out for the Valentine's Day weddings, second year in a row, and then we've been rocking and rolling with those. And then you have the flyer for our academy, so that'll be coming around next May as well.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, and have a great day. All right. Next, we have Director Brian Kelly with our Transportation Department.
All right, so we'll get the video up, and everybody can turn to tab 26 in their notebooks.
And I did want to take a moment just to give a quick update. We have an official update on the boil water advisory, and it will be extended for 24 hours. So we are working on that diligently, and you will see another update by this afternoon at 4 p.m.
So are we saying until tomorrow?
24 hours from now. So noon tomorrow. Let's just say that.
Okay.
Good morning. My name is Brian Kelly. I'm the Director of Transportation for Rockdale County. We deal with several different parts. We have a maintenance division where we maintain the roads. We have a capital improvements, which is probably the largest section that we deal with, is the new projects coming on. And those examples of that would be Courtesy Parkway, I-20 at 138, that major project where they're redesigning the entire interchange. Another project will be the widening of Salem Road. That's going to be from a 2-lane to a 4-lane, and actually at the interstate, that'll be a 6-lane project at the interstate once you get off by 20 going south into Newton. We try to maintain our budget year over year. Sometimes we have to do some changes. We have some new technology that's coming. We expect to have a hot in-place recycling contract coming up that will help us try to stretch that dollar as we maintain that budget year over year. So it gives us more bang for our buck, and that's how we attack that use of tax dollars. We want to take that dollar and stretch it more and get more roads that we can salvage. And we look at a comprehensive transportation plan that will help us do that. And that plan helps us look at areas that need to be widened for future growth. One of the things that's beautiful about Rockdale Conyers is that yes, we are a suburb of Atlanta, but with the metro growing, we are definitely not a isolated city. We are definitely part of the metro here. And so as that growth comes, we try to accept and accommodate and plan for that growth. Full depth reclamation is about $1 million a mile. That includes subgrade, the actual gravel in between, and the top layer of asphalt that you're going to put on. That's about $1 million a mile. Resurfacing is a little bit different. We're taking off those top 2 layers. That means you have a layer of asphalt or binder, and then you have a topping that goes on top of that depending on the amount of cars that drive on that road per day and the speed of those cars that we see per day. And those are 2 different types of projects that we do, resurfacing versus a full depth replacement. So a lot of your senior tax dollars are going to go to that. As we close out, I want to thank you for your continued support with RDOT. As we pivot towards the future, we thank you for allowing us to grow and a part in our progress as we do this. You are what helps us drive Rockdale, helps us expand, and we're looking for your support. So we thank you for that.
So, good morning all. Hope you guys are having a great day. Good morning, Commissioner Smith, Commissioner Williams, and of course, Chair Van Ness. So today I'll bring to you some thoughts and hopefully some ideas about our budget and the future for transportation. So
Director Kelly, before you get started, if you could pull the microphone a little closer, I think some folks can't hear you. Thanks.
All right, excellent. So this is our mission statement. This has been consistent. So in the thought of time, I'll go ahead and bypass this one, but this is definitely a standard for our values here. Jumping right into our opportunities. A couple things have changed. Biggest thing for us, our major project, Kersey Parkway Extension. This project overall, the life of it was about $50 million. We're starting to see the end of the tunnel here. So if you've driven down Kersey near the Ford, near the big box stores, you see the paving for the most part is complete, except for that topping layer is still outstanding. You saw some video of the sidewalks going in. Some of the lights are going in. So things are happening. The bridge beams are up and completed. I expect to have concrete poured by the middle of September. Early October should be completed and ready. And then from there, you'll get finishing touches on the whole project. The south side is relatively done. They're waiting on the top coat on that as well, so it'll match the whole project. But we're in good shape there. So that project, I'm very pleased to announce that one is coming to an end. So
and when is that expected to be completed?
So we're still slated for December, but we're looking very good. We're looking very good there. So other projects that we are looking to do behind that one, Sigmund Phase 3 from the Piedmont Hospital all the way to 138. Design is complete. We have good news about our environmental study that's been, we have good news about that's being accepted. Now we're looking towards right away to begin right away on that portion. And that's a big deal for us to move that project forward. That one is highly anticipated because it's also a GDOT route. So truck route, flow of traffic, lots of commerce and business for that route for us. So that's a big deal. That'll be our next large scale project coming up. And I believe that one's roughly $30 to $40 million as well for that widening and improvement. After that, there's a phase 4 of Sigmund that will be from Highway 138 right there all the way to essentially to I-20 on the east side of town, that Dogwood connector. That is naturally our major business corridor. We are working on that one as well. We are still in the middle of preliminary engineering on that one, but it is proceeding pretty aggressively as well. So trying to make sure we have designs and environmental studies that are ready to go so we can just continue on that process once funding is available. Other successes, we are coming to an end on our LMIG projects. We did have some issues with soil, but we have found some success with our repairs that is showing progress and support of the structure. So some of the issues that we had, we found solutions, and we're going to be able to implement that on all the roads that we deal with moving forward. So that's good news for us. And then Honey Creek Bridge, that one is active and is complete as well. So future opportunities, I would say that phase 3 of Sigmund is your next one. Of course, phase 4 after that, but that's a little bit more long term. Flat Shoals widening. We do have some information and some preliminary designs or concepts on that. Widening that is going to help us benefit, and that will be from Old Salem to Courtesy, right there where the school is, and keeping us in the limits of our environmental study, so we don't have to go get a new one. That kind of would expedite that and help us a little bit in that regard. We're looking at currently matching what's existing in the city of Conyers, that 4-lane with the median divide, keeping it standard, but having potentially sidewalk and multi-use path, or picking one or the other. So we have a little bit of options there. But that one is early, and you'll be seeing those preliminary engineering results soon for you guys to review. We do have some good information about the roundabouts at Smyrna and 212. Also, we just got some recent information about Tucker Mill and 212 as well. Some good news about that. There's a little bit of cost savings. Originally, we were thinking maybe $5 million as a standard price for roundabouts. These are potentially going to come in a little bit lower, which is beneficial for us. And if that's verified with our rest of our estimates, that's what will be recommended, is a roundabout versus a signal, extremely for safety purposes. Rehabilitation of Harrison Mill, that one is already with procurement. We're looking at bidding that one out, getting repairs done, making sure that one is a long-term repair. Wood definitely has some beautification with it that is intriguing and rustic, but making sure we can have bang for our buck, but still have the wooden bridge in the field that we want here in Rockdale. So that one is coming up as well. And then SPLOST 5D, we have added 4 roads onto that series of SPLOST projects, and we're going to be attacking those here pretty soon. We're probably going to break those out into the south side again. So that will be Honey Creek and Good on the south side, and then Miller Bottom and Pleasant Hill done together on the north side. I think we're reviewing some funding options we have there, but it's looking good there as well to add those to our overall SPLOST list. This is our third of 4, and this would be the 4th. The D would be the 4th one there.
Can you talk about those extra dollars for paving those areas and where they come from?
So some of that, we do have grants, of course, that does chip in, and we do maximize that as much as possible. We do look for the SPLOST for some of the overage potentially, if it's there, and that is once we work with finance, what's available, what do we have left, and can we fit a major project or road repair in with those funds. So that's our main sources. Of course, anything, if we're able to have anything left over with GDOT for these main routes, Miller Bob and Plantation, of course, our truck routes as well on the north side, if they're able to have any extra overage, we always accept that. And then, so challenges, we're trying to meet some new challenges here. Well, I won't say, let me say, step back, I won't say new, but they are consistent. Staffing and resources is definitely an issue. So we are looking for some assistance there as we've done some examinations and reviews of new tasks or divisions within RDOT. We have some information on the next couple of slides that we're looking at for that. And funding, of course, is always an issue when we're looking at expanding our services. So for goals, we want to make sure we have access and focus on the routes, main traffic routes. Another portion of this would be ADA compliance. So sidewalks is something that we're going to be looking more into, making sure that we have the striping up to date and we're accommodating ADA compliance throughout the area. Equality, we did complete our CTP study, and I'll look for you guys to assist me in accepting that CTP plan. The comprehensive transportation plan we just completed. It has already, of course, produced several projects. Flat Shoals is one of them as a future project. So that's what we're looking for out of those research efforts. And then new innovations. So definitely a good example would be the hot in place innovation, and then potentially anything in transit if we're looking in the future. So budget wise, these numbers are a little bit different, but we have new information. These do not include the landscaping opportunities that we're looking at. So those have been updated, and our operations side, we do have a change in our operations, and this is specifically to accommodate beautification. There has been some discussion about beautification options and what we can do for the gateways, anything coming off of I-20, for example. And then other routes that will be looked at, Sigmund, Salem Road, any county gateway borders that would blend us between DeKalb, Gwinnett, Newton, or Henry. How do we get the beautification and figure out how to make that work? So we do have some information that has been submitted to you guys for that, and that you'll see coming as well. The secondary change for the personnel, here we're showing that's relatively staying almost the same. If you were to look at the landscaping option, that would be about 1.09 million to accommodate that division as a startup, and that has been submitted for you guys to review. So operating budget, administrative, you have our changes that we're requesting. This does include our changes to the landscaping option for us. Administratively, variance of about 250. A large swath of that community improvement, that's where that landscaping would sit, and that's where you're seeing that variance.
Is that a total replacement of the current provider?
That would exclude the current provider.
Okay.
And then, of course, going down, some of the needs for traffic and engineering, about 400,000 there. That would help us with some of any kind of arborist or that would be covered, traffic control that's needed, those engineering sides of that landscaping that still needs to be done. That would be that there. And then maintenance for mowing maintenance, that right there is just simply equipment that's updating our equipment as that ages out. So for operating budget, a large part of that admin does cover the potential landscaping division that we discussed, and that's an option. We have looked and compared with other agencies, so we do have information that is real time and factual when we look at potential for beautification division here in Rockdale. That's what you see with the admin. That second part with landscaping, CIT and landscaping would include essentially 12 to 15 head count and a supervisor, arborist to go along with that to make sure we keep those new options for beautifications. And some of the, just if I could dive into that a little bit, some of the options for the trees and bushes, dogwoods, native azaleas, some burning bushes, dwarf bushes, wildflowers that are standard for GDOT when they do beautifications. All this is stuff that, not trying to reinvent the wheel, that we could leverage here in Rockdale for this beautification effort that we've seen around the area. So currently we have our current staffing and we have several vacancies there, and the new ideal org chart would include roughly 21 total, but you have several options that we would need here. That's where you would see a expansion if it was acted upon by the board. And this is essentially a startup, so we will be looking for the board's advice on, do we want to go full in? Do we want to break this into phases, maybe a 3-year phase? If you break in, 8 people at a time or something like that, that you could slowly accommodate this. And how do we essentially skin that cat there? So the budget, this also has been altered. The actual number for that budget would be the 1.09 million. So that's what will be captured there. The 1.5 it has been corrected. So you'll see that in your revised paperwork here coming. So 1.09. That head count does increase with the 21 staff request to 54. If you guys were to look at the landscaping division, and so some of those requests, there are about 5 or 6 in there that is going to be used as a float between some of our other operations. So, for example, the ADA compliance for sidewalks. Some of those guys would go between the landscaping and the compliance for sidewalks and getting those sidewalks up to date. So this would definitely support our current operations, but it is above and beyond what we do now. And of course, these numbers, to reflect them, we do have, starting with the maintenance worker 3, the variation is actually 521 instead of 682. And I'll just go through those with you right now. The variance is actually 521,000 versus 682. Landscaping supervisor that we would need for that division, the variance is 70,000 versus the 92 you see here, and the maintenance worker 2 is 487,000 versus the 638. And then we are requesting a reclass to help this, essentially a division reorg for budget wise. We're going to reclass what we have and not try and bring in somebody new. We would just look to reclass that. That reclass is 12,008 versus that 89,000 there. So we're looking to kind of change and go in house. So our 5-year vision for our CIP, we do have some requests for naturally aging, and these are spaced out for our aging automotive needs. There is, of course, a little bit of variance with the landscaping. So looking at the automotive issues, these are all our pickup trucks or dump trucks there. Heavy equipment, we have right around 480. That number with the landscaping is 590, for example. So the total number, and I'll just go through the totals there, that 5-year total. That 1.775 is actually 1.885 for that 5-year. Technology year over year will be the same. 70.75 is still accurate. Automotive is actually 530. The building renovations, The renovations is the same. We are looking at potentially, if you were to move forward, the old fire station off Troop Smith, I believe that was Fire Station 2, old Fire Station 2. We have studied the ability to house this whole division out of that, as opposed to trying to build a new building, revamping that one so it could hold all of the equipment, trucks, vehicles, mulch, straw, storehouse for materials, all of that. We have coordinated with Director Hammer on that and possibilities of making that work, and he does feel comfortable with that as well. So that one looks at about $200,000 to revamp that and make it a second base of operations for landscaping. New buildings, those new buildings would be storage buildings. So mulch, any rock you need for said landscaping operations. And then infrastructure, the number you have is 156 million, 156.9. That number is 160.4. And this would cover all of the projects that we're looking at, Sigmund 3, Sigmund 4, the resurfacing projects, the roundabouts that we're looking at as well. So that is a good number, close to a good number for us for all the major projects that
And
we
to
have.
clarify, there would be shared responsibility with GDOT on some of those projects?
Anything that would be related to GDOT 212, for example, where we would get their buy-in, we would typically have those roundabouts work, for example, we would maintain after they're constructed. And so what we've done is try to take on some of those, and funding, we would work with them on funding on all of our projects versus
Like an
just the small
80-20
ones.
split with the
Correct.
80 for them? Okay.
Yep.
All right. All right, very good. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Next, we will hear from the Superior Court, Judge Bills and Judge Woods.
Those will be tabs 8 and 9. Oh, I'm sorry, 9 and 10.
So we are presenting together.
Together, okay, so.
Because most of there are some, under our org charts, you can
Right.
see.
Okay.
There's not a ton of change, and ours will be very fast. But we are presenting together because luckily now we have a court administrator over all of the Superior Court, so that's helped to manage everything. And you can see that the Superior Courts have been very good stewards of the taxpayer money. We've never gone over budget. We are requesting very small increases, and that's just due to case numbers and appointed attorneys and things that we have no control over. So when the public defender has a conflict in a case, meaning there's multiple co-defendants in a criminal case, they can only represent one. So then the Superior Courts have to appoint private attorneys and pay them for representation. There's also a slight increase in the operating expenses. Part of that's the attorneys, part of it's just repair, maintenance, normal expenses. But that's a very small number. It's $9,000.
If you had to guess, what's your percentage for the cases you have of public defender versus contracted services or court-appointed services?
Oh, gosh. Well, I mean, I don't have any idea
Okay.
the percentage. Obviously, the public defender represents most of the cases in Superior Court
Okay.
that are indigent. Of course, there's private attorneys as well.
Right.
Then, of course, the board is familiar with the scenario in our public defender's office, so they actually there's only 2 public defenders for all of Superior Court.
Right.
And so there's a contracted attorney that I think is coming out of the public defender's budget.
Yes.
So that's separate from this.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
These are conflict attorneys that the court is appointing.
I see.
So
Okay.
And it always has come out of our budget
Right.
anytime, in every scenario where the public defender can't represent a person. But again, we've never gone over budget. We're just estimating based on our case counts, and they do continue to go up.
Okay.
the org charts, you will see we are proposing 2 new positions, and the ADR, which is Alternative Dispute Resolution, that is, we are asking the county to allow us to add that position at no cost whatsoever to the county. That is a totally self-funded case fee project.
Okay.
And we are working with the state agency. We are submitting. It comes from the Superior Court. It goes to the state commission. They approve it. All of our courts are on board: Superior Court, State Court, Magistrate Court, and Probate Court. So if the commission approves our application in August, there would be a $10 fee per each civil filing, and we would not hire this person until the salary was completely funded by the fees. So we're just
Okay.
asking the board to create that position with no cost to the county whatsoever. In the new courthouse, we already have ADR space. I don't know if you've heard from Magistrate Court or not yet, but
We
we're
did.
all on board, and I know she's asking for a separate part-time person because Magistrate Court ADR is a totally different animal.
Okay.
So we support that request as well. But this is a different position. This will be totally fee-funded. The county will have no obligation except for if you want to consider it in kind, office space, phone, computer, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Which again is already in the plan for the new courthouse.
Okay.
So the new position that we're asking for is a TPO clerk. And TPO is temporary protective order. So those are family violence situations where there is a civil protective order. There's often a criminal case that accompanies it, but it's people in crisis that are coming to the courthouse. I need protection from the court. It's a very emotional, traumatic, it can be a very emotional, traumatic event. We only have one state-paid TPO coordinator. Every other metro county has at least 2, and Newton is not even a metro county, and they have 2 people that do that full-time. Because when you look at our numbers that continue to go up, the state only tracks and the clerks only track those TPOs that are issued. But that doesn't include the people that come up that have to be helped, and for whatever reason, they may not qualify. So you have a family violence temporary protective order, you have a dating violence temporary protective order, there's a stalking protective order, and there's actually an employer protective order. So this is a whole realm of civil protective orders that we as Superior Court still handle, while most of the metro counties have delegated it to Magistrate Court. Our Magistrate Court doesn't have that capacity, so we still do all the TPOs.
Okay.
So we are asking for a TPO clerk because it is the case count and the job itself is larger than one full-time person. And that's all this county has ever had, is one full-time person. So I'm afraid we're past time for adding that. So we are requesting, that is our only new position that the county would have any funding for.
Okay.
Judge Wood, anything you wanted to add?
Nope. Okay.
So and with Darlene's guidance and help, and the Superior Courts have always worked well together, but we continue to collaborate. Obviously, Darlene is very helpful in that, our court administrator. So we continue to share resources and funding and people and work together. And I will just point out in closing that our programs, the lab, Stepping Up, our accountability courts, so much of that is grant funded, but you all know the numbers. The Superior Courts continue to be proactive rather than reactive, and we are saving the county money each and every day with jail costs, diversion, getting people out of jail into treatment. So we continue to keep serving all of our citizens at the top of our list.
And making a difference in people's lives.
Hopefully
Your
so.
graduations are great.
Yes,
Much
thank you.
appreciated.
Thank you guys for attending those.
All right.
Do you all have any questions for us?
No.
Okay, thank you for your time. We
very
appreciate
much.
it.
All right. Have a good day.
Thank you.
right, Judge McRae.
All right, that will be tab 13 in your notebook.
Thank you.
Good morning, Madam
Good
Chair,
morning.
Commissioner Smith, Commissioner Williams. Thank you for this opportunity to present again for the budget. Last year, we got to talk about the increase in backlog that we have been doing in state court, and I'm happy to announce that we are still increasing our numbers. So part of our vision has always been to ensure fair, efficient, and impartial administration of justice. The mission is efficient court operations, reducing backlog, and providing accessibility to courts. Some of these successes, the big one that we're very proud of is with the help of Superior Court Chief Judge Beals, we were able to get a Veterans Court recognized here in Rockdale County. That became official July 1. So the state has provided money to start the process of starting our Veterans Court, and we're going to coincide the grand opening in January after the move into the new courthouse. So we're very excited about that. We are now in the process of intaking, identifying veterans that would qualify going forward. So we're very happy about that. A part of accessibility also is the night court. Night traffic court has been a huge success. We're now past our 1-year anniversary, and I just had a meeting with Justin, my judicial assistant. This month's night court is probably going to be the largest one we've ever had. So we are now giving citizens the opportunity, if they can't make court during the day, they can request to have night court, and that has been a huge advantage to working people, and also with the numbers you'll see with the traffic court. The other piece is jail court, and what jail court does is, with the help of Judge Reed, on the first Friday of the month, and then on the third Friday of the month, we make sure that citizens have the opportunity to have their cases heard at the jail. So if people can't make bail, can't make bond, we have a lot of instances where they can just have their case heard, expedited, and a lot of cases, time served, and they will close out their case, versus having to get out of jail, post bond, get into the system, accusation, 6 months to a year later hearing cases.
Oh, gosh, that's great.
So
go over that program again.
So
When is it?
So
that you hold?
for misdemeanor crimes, we have inmates, citizens who've been arrested for, let's just say a minor one would be a traffic. They're on a bench warrant for traffic failure to appear. So something as simple as invalid registration, suspended registration, they failed to make it to court, so they're now sitting in jail because they got picked up on a warrant.
Wow.
So they're not, at the end of the day, they're not criminals per se, but they have done offenses that are misdemeanors.
Right.
So if they've already spent that time in jail, we can have the case, working with the public defender's office, working with the DA, identify people who can come to jail court, and then we can have it right there at the jail. We don't have to transport them, and that whole process is expedited.
So did you say that's once a month?
We do it twice a month,
Oh,
actually.
twice a month.
And
So do
then-
they sit in jail until that time?
So they are, if they're eligible for bail or bond, they can always do that. So
Okay.
that's part of the process.
Okay.
So in a way, if we need to, we also do special set hearings also. But having those 2 days on the calendar, everybody knows that, hey, with the opportunity that these people sitting here can be heard.
Okay.
Versus just sitting there and nothing to do. Because unfortunately, some people can't make bail, can't make bond.
Sure, sure.
That's just especially, we know the economy is just money. Sometimes it's
Yes.
just not there. So
Very
I think
good.
that's a really good program for Rockdale County.
I do too.
Yes.
Sorry, sir, I should come to the clicker out to your right, the down arrow will move the slots.
Okay, thank you. So everybody see this beautiful slide that I'm talking about? All right. So the opportunities, as we were mentioning earlier, but thankfully, we've been working hard on this process. So the email went out this morning. We're very close to solving the shortage of public defenders in state court and the one in Superior Court. So I saw the email finally go through. I'm looking at Sue. That looks like that's going to be official. So the good thing is we're able to use existing county funds that were already earmarked for the public defender's office, and we're going to have private contracted public contract attorneys to do public defense for indigent citizens. So we've been working and battling with that, but we have a short-term solution for that. So that just came out this morning.
And that'll be for state court.
State court will have 2 positions, and Superior Court will have 1 position.
Okay.
So we'll make sure that indigent defendants will have representation. So that's a really good win. So once again, a collaborative effort amongst everybody, the board, the finance, and human resources to get this resolved. So that's a huge win for
And
Rockdale County.
how does that program work? So the funding will then be moved to your court and you will?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. So we're still falling underneath the public defenders.
Okay.
It's their budget that's already been allocated. So they're going to take those funds that are already allocated and put it towards private contracted attorneys. And I don't want to say I'm worried, but it should save money in the long run for now.
Yes,
As we represent indigent defendants.
absolutely.
So no additional cost, which I know taxpayers like to hear. We've been able to do
Right.
a solution that doesn't cost us more money, so.
And that consistency would also allow you to expedite cases.
Yes, also, yes. So we
Which
know.
makes a difference in people's lives when it's not drawn out, so.
Yes,
very
ma'am.
good. Okay.
And then big thing, opportunity is use of technology. AI is here now, and there's different states do it different ways, but in Georgia, we have different rules that we're using for AI. So we want to make sure that we in Rockdale County are aware what those rules are, that we're staying current with the trends, and that we can adapt to it and use AI in an ethical way that doesn't violate the law. So we want to make sure that our people are trained in the use of technology to include website enhancements. I have now got Justin, he's going to be able to post directly on the website so we can provide more information to the community so that they know what's going on in our courthouse. And then we want to maximize video conferencing. So one thing that's been successful for cases that do not require in-person, sort of like in COVID, did not require in-person appearances, especially for the Metro Atlanta attorneys, they can jump on conference calls, sitting in Atlanta, handle their business with Rockdale County without having to deal with the traffic, even though it's better with the construction gone. But, so that's been a huge win for making courts more accessible to everybody without having to come to court from outside of Rockdale County.
And that's for just the attorneys or the defendants?
The defendants also, we can do that for, especially
Okay.
for civil courts. Civil court, it makes it easier in civil cases, and then criminal cases that do not require by law for them to be in person, I can also conduct those hearings also via video conference.
So we're still able to keep people working during the day?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good.
And then that's the busy slide with all the numbers, but in the perspective, case management is improved from 92.6% in 2025 to 93.7% through July 17th, so that's just half the year. Adult criminal dispositions have improved substantially from 57.4% in 2025 to currently 72.5% here at mid-year. Serious traffic and other traffic continues to be the highest numbers. Continue to represent the vast majority of courts' workload from 80% of all filings and maintain a strong 94% disposal rate. Court has had 188 net pending cases so far in 2026 compared with 367 over the entirety of 2025. So once again, we're trending to double the numbers again. That's in the criminal cases, and then civil cases have improved the disposition rate from 44.31% to 63.13%. So my law clerk, Cheryl Perry, helps me and is over civil law. So we have, once again, we're pushing out large numbers. We're not letting cases sit. I remember when I was appointed for this role, one of the things was the backlog in civil cases was a big complaint from the community, and we've been working to alleviate that. Cases are now moving and being heard. The biggest initiative, once again, is access and timely access to courts for the citizens of Rockdale County, and as we've said, through Veterans Court, Night Court, and Jail Court, we are doing that. So that all leads up to I need more money, but not that much.
Okay, right to the point.
But not that much more.
Are you 16 or 17 years old?
Yeah, that's what,
Yes, direct.
But with that being said, with all the programs that we've done since I've been in my role as Chief State Court Judge, we've done that all at a high. We have not gone over budget. So I believe that we are good stewards of the taxpayers' money. And with the night traffic court alone, that's an operating expense. And we've been able to take it out of our budget, and I still did not go over budget. So whatever you give me, we're going to manage. But with that being said, I've established Veterans Court, which is a good thing. State has provided partial money. We have a federal grant out, hoping for approval. So the only thing I'd be asking for is just the incidentals that are around operating a different accountability court, supplies and things of that nature. So the big buckets for us. So Judge, why do we need to travel? Well, Judge needs to travel and my staff needs to travel for training, because once again, Rockdale County, we should be the best in everything. I want to make sure that my personnel are trained with the latest technology, latest in law innovations. And since we've been here, Cheryl and Justin will tell you that they've been able to get more training and to get current with the current things that are going on around the world, not just in the state of Georgia, on how to do things better. So, and the numbers are showing that. So the education training, we only did ask for 5,000 last year. If we were to go to all required training that I'm required to go to as a judge, and that they're required to go in their position, and including all the additional technology training that they have, it would be $25,000. So that's the big number. And then the other supplies and accountability courts, as we mentioned, with Veterans Court standing up, with the addition of night traffic court once a month, between the personnel, the supplies, and the innovations with that, we've been asking for. So that number is actually wrong. So we had 50,000 last year with DUI court, so 50,000 plus, it would actually be plus the 2,300. It should be plus 2,300 would be the additional, 2,300 would be, 23,000 would be the additional monies that would be required to help run Veterans Court, Night Court, and the other accountability courts successfully.
I think these numbers are backwards on,
Yeah,
right?
so, yeah, they're back. So what it should have been was last year's budget was 50,000. So what FY,
27,000.
it should be 77,000. It should see 77,000. 77,000, yes. I missed my numbers, yeah. So a change of 23,000, thank you. And I believe that talks about the money, about our organization. The only thing we're adding to the organization is the Veterans Court Accountability Court Coordinator. Currently, if we just use the state's money only, we will use our current DUI court coordinator, and we'll get her a stipend out of to work that money. If we get the federal grant, that position will be totally funded by the federal government. So we're just waiting for that to come out, but we have a plan either way so we can continue with Veterans Court.
Okay.
So that concludes my presentation. Thank you for your time today.
Okay, thank you. Judge Reed?
All right, the next tab 14.
Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Madam Chairwoman, Commissioner Smith, Commissioner Williams. My name is Richard Reed. I am the Associate Judge over what y'all call State Court 2. Across the street, we call it State Court B. And it is my responsibility to preside over criminal, traffic, and civil matters that are filed in the State Court of Rockdale County. I appreciate the opportunity to appear before you today. This is my 25th and maybe my last budget cycle. I look forward to Judge-elect Kenny taking the bench in the near future and taking over State Court 2, State Court B. I believe that a judge's responsibility, especially in this community, is not only to provide fair, efficient, impartial service, but it's also to conduct themselves in a manner that enhances the public's confidence in the judicial system of Rockdale County, and that is what I have strived to do during my almost 5 years as state court judge. My request as far as an increase, and I'm going to cut to the chase because I want you to catch up on time. I'm asking for an additional $11,000 in operating expenses. That money is spread out over 4 line item categories. One is general supplies and materials, the other is education and training, travel, and communications. And the reason I have asked for this, what I consider modest increase over last year's operating budget, is we do have a new judge that is going to take the bench. And there are certain educational requirements that Judge Kinney will have to undertake in the upcoming year. He will go to new judges training in January. He'll go to State Court Judges Conference in May. He'll go to State Court Judges Conference in October. And I believe that that training and the necessary travel dollars and fees associated with that training will be very valuable to Judge Kinney as he takes the bench. I also anticipate there may be some additional funds for materials, depending on what his style is as he runs his court, and maybe some additional funds as far as communications, that is new letterhead, new stationery, so forth and so on. And so I've asked for that increase, and I will ask you to approve that. I will point out that in 2022, when I took the bench, the operating budget for State Court 2 was $82,606. I am now asking for an operating budget, including the $11,000 increase of $95,700. That means in the 5 years that I have been on the bench, that operating budget has only changed by $13,094. I have tried during my time as state court judge and formerly as district attorney to be a good steward of the taxpayer dollars that are allotted to me. I believe every budget that I've had, I've returned money during that 25 years that I participated in the budget process. And so I would ask you to approve that. The one thing, and so beyond the budget itself, there were 2 things that I wanted to talk about just to make you aware that I consider concerns, one of which is being addressed and the other might need to be addressed down the road. One has been the difficulty that the Public Defender's Office and the difficulty that the District Attorney's Office has had in maintaining staff, especially their young lawyers. There are tremendous opportunities in the Metro Atlanta area for young lawyers coming out of law school, and there are tremendous opportunities in other prosecutor and public defender's offices. And it has been challenging as a state court judge, and I think Judge McRae has had some of the same challenges, making sure that we continue to operate in a fair and efficient fashion when we don't have bodies to appear in our courtroom. And so I just ask where the commission can assist, and I know you are assisting right now by allowing the Public Defender's Office to contract with 3 very fine local attorneys who I think will provide excellent services to the Superior and State Courts of Rockdale County. But I just want you to be aware, and I think you are aware of the challenges, not only that the Public Defender's Office has, but the challenge that the District Attorney's Office has as well. And just keep that in mind as they present their budgets and as they talk to you about their staffing and their needs. The other thing I just want to point out so that the commission is aware of it. In 2023, when a year after my position was created, so the second state court position, civil filings in the State Court of Rockdale County were 1,890 cases. Based on the numbers that I'm seeing right now, civil filings this year will be over 4,000 civil cases. And between 2023 and 2026, that's a 116% increase of the number of civil filings that have been filed. And that's not even talking about traffic, that's not talking about criminal. And it's the civil cases that tend to take more of our time as judges because they can be very in-depth. There are a lot of different circumstances that can appear in a civil case. The criminal cases and the traffic cases tend to become more routine. I just want you to be aware that the caseload is something that we have to keep an eye on as judges, and we will bring to your attention when we believe it's appropriate.
Very good.
Any questions, ladies? Thank you for allowing me to be here today. I appreciate it. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you very much. All right. Session, and at this time, we'll call this meeting concluded.